Hey Flosstube, it's Cam back again with another weekly cross-stitching update. This is video number 80. Today is the 3rd of August 2020. I hope everybody is having a good week. And this week I worked on 4 different pieces I'm going to share with you. Plus I have some other stitching news and I actually have an Air Force story for you. So first off, the stitching. The first piece I worked on is I caught up on the 52 Weeks of Black Work sale by Peppermint Purple. This is a free sale on Facebook. One block is released every week, and I chose my own colors for a Halloween / autumn vibe on this Color and Cotton 32 count Jobelin in Cauldron Bubble. So I did 7 new squares, which actually I worked on it Monday. I thought I could get all 7 done on Monday, but I did not. Because I was doing some other things along with uploading a video. So I did the bottom 2 squares Tuesday morning. Therefore, I did not get more border done. So I have the border left for 3 there. And then the next block is just like this really long block where I will finish the quote. So double, double, toil and trouble. So we'll say cauldron burn and fire bubble, or yeah, whatever the Shakespeare quote is, will go in that one. So probably here at the end of the month, I'll pick it up again because the big block there in the middle has already been released. So in like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't want to do the math on the calendar. So that's what it looks like right now. It's just a quick and easy piece. One of the easiest sales I've ever, been able to keep up with. And then I worked one day, or like half of one day and half of the other, since I had to do the beginning of Tuesday on the black work. Went to Long Dog Sampler's Templar Prophecy, and I'm down here in this corner, so I worked more on the night. So you can see the horse's tail is up, and how the night is here. The good news is, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on the camera here in the video, but I have put in my 3rd shade of blue, and you can tell it apart. There is a difference when you look at it. So I put in 600 stitches, and there you go. Can you tell his shield is a different shade of blue? The 3rd one. So you have the light blue of the border and on the horse, and then the dark blue, and his shield is the 3rd blue. The flag and staff that he's holding will also be in that 3rd shade of blue. So that's, he's got his hand out there holding it, but I haven't started the staff yet because it was another shade of blue. So I still have to finish the plume on his helmet and then build up the horse's head and neck and the staff and flag that he's holding. So 600 stitches on that one. This is on 32 count Lugana in Silvery Moon. It is a Zweigart base. So I got that off 1 2 3 stitch. It's a very pale blue. So that is the Templar Prophecy. I keep getting questions every time I show this, so I know some of you have seen this plenty of times, but here are the flosses I'm using for that one. Real quick, you can see how close this blue is to the others. These are unmarked floss bobbins. I believe they're Bucilla floss, and I got this as part of a stash buy that I got from family and friends of a 94-year-old woman whose stash they were getting rid of. So I have now used 1 full skein of both the light and the dark blue. And I have another project that I haven't started yet that I'm going to use this green for. These ones I don't know yet what I'm going to use them for. Those are going to stand by. So those are the flosses I'm using on that one. And then for the last 3 days of the month, I went for my last bingo square on Kindred Spirits as a design or designer that starts with J-U-L or Y, because this is Jody Bergsma. And I am down here, second row, first page, lots and lots of gray. I got the bingo square done in 2 days, and then I worked a little more on it the last day of the month. So I have about 2,500 stitches for the week. So now my park total on this piece is around 5,000 out of 8,010 stitch. So we're getting there. And it was all shades of gray. But it filled in rather nicely. You can see where the Frisian's mane is going to keep coming here. And then down here, so here's the page break. This is where the white horse, the Andalusian or Lipizan or Lusitano, whatever you want to call him, that's where his neck is going to start coming out. So filling this in nicely. And that's how much I have done on the whole piece so far. So there's 3 pages here, 1 page here, and want to reiterate what Nikki from Nikki Crafts said in her recent video a few days ago. When you do your pages diagonally or unevenly like this, because she's working on a stitch in time, and she started in the center where the medallion is, worked her way straight up and then over so that she could start filling in the top left corner. When you do that on any sort of scroll frame, you are not going to have even tension. Regardless, she does 1/1 full cross. I do, 2/1 10 stitch, or at least she's doing a stitch in time 1/1. I think she's got 10 stitch on some other pieces. But regardless of how you do it, it just, the way that it rolls onto the scroll frame and the way that your stitching pulls the fabric, you do not have even tension across the fabric when you have partial rows done. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking at stitching a full coverage piece, a big piece like this, not completely one row across and roll it up. I have also noticed it on Trick or Treat. It's not as bad as this one yet because Trick or Treat, obviously I'm only doing the black first, and the black is all over, so the tension issues aren't as bad. And it doesn't bother me because Easy Count is a stiffer fabric to begin with, so I don't need it drum taut. Just something to keep in mind. Let's see. I know Jessie is stitching her in this moment diagonal pages, but hers is not Easy Count. And a regular Lugana has more stretch to it, so she probably doesn't have the tension issues, or at least she hasn't mentioned it. So something to keep in mind if you're using Easy Count. So after that, it was August 1st, which means it is time for the August Familiar, for the Catalog of Witches Familiar sale by Ingleside Imaginarium. And I love this guy. It is a rat, which, okay, I'm not cool with rats in person. Like, I wouldn't have a rat as a pet, but I do know people who have had rats as pets, and they absolutely love them. They're very smart, very personable animals. So the story with Raddus, as we'll see here in the piece, is that they bred the smartest of the smart bloodlines of rats to create the Raddus Familiar, because what he can do is he can assist his witch, casting spells, making potions, and acting as a third hand. So in this block, he is reading a spell book, helping his witch. So I finished, let me pull this down. I finished Raddus. So there he is. There's the whole piece so far. I'll bring him in close, and you can see I did more border work to finish the last block on the right side. And just a quick note, this does look different than what I posted on Facebook in Brittany's group, and also what I posted on Instagram, because I had an error on my version, because the chart I was using for the border work was the very, very first one that she sent out that had errors up here. And of course, I printed out immediately, and she sent out a correction chart that had this section down here corrected, but because I never updated my chart. So this right here in the center, that little cornice looks different on Instagram and on my Facebook post, but I have since corrected it to make it look like every other cornice. So that's all fixed. I also made an error on my rat, but I didn't notice the error until I was backstitching his whiskers. So the error is staying. Not that it really makes a difference, but his shoulder is one stitch further out than it should be. But that's all right. He's built. He's got big shoulders. So there he is reading his little spell book, and I think he may be my new favorite. I really liked Lepus, the rabbit, or the hare. But now I think Raddus is my favorite. So there you go. 32 count Lugana in Murky by Picture This Plus. Brittany's model is stitched on 28 count. I believe she used the cashel, the linen, but I'm using the Lugana, so it's a little bit different. So that's what I worked on this week, the 4 pieces. Today, because I couldn't wait, and I bet most of you know what I put back on the scroll frame right away. I put Trick or Treat back on the scroll frame. I stitched up that little section that I had missed in the row, the second row of pages. That was like 39 stitches. So now I am back working on my bats. I think last week I said I had 1,900 stitches of black left. That was wrong. I had 1450. And I've already done over 400 of that. So we got like 1,000 stitches left of black. So I'm going to finish the black today. All I have left is like 1 or 2 bats and tree branches. So watch out for Facebook and Instagram. I'll show a picture of the entire piece, all the black done. Will be today. And then of course, next week's video, I'll hold it up for you and show it to you. And then that piece will sit with no attention so I can hang it up showing all the black for the month of October. So then once November, December gets here, I can put it back on the scroll frames and start filling in pages. Other pieces I'm going to work on. I told you for the Around the World Challenge and Full Coverage Fanatics this month, we're going to Japan. So Trick or Treat also works for Japan because they have a 3-headed dragon as part of their mythology. And if I'm remembering my months correctly, my reasonings, or was that Russia? Because I switched around pieces. I know Russia's coming up, and I switched around. Was it Russia that had a 3-headed dragon? That's probably it. I think it's Russia. But Japanese dragons are also popular. So you've seen their parades and such. So I'll be working on Trick or Treat and Museum Shelf for Japan. Let me show you my bingo board. So I did get 3 lines done. All I had to do is this square down here. So this is where my bingo board ended for the month. So Museum Shelf, Trick or Treat, Macintosh Mail, of course, will come back out. Keep giving it some attention. And then the non-full coverage piece that I think I've only worked on it once or twice this year. And it was early this year. That is a finish goal for this year. And I still have a ways to go. This is Haunted Mansion Stretched Portraits by Good Morning Maui on Etsy. I've got half of it done. And I want to get a finish this year, so I have to get working on it. This is some 28 count Monaco that I Rit dyed. So I've got 2 of the portraits done. I started on the 3rd. But I did that last year for some Magical Stitches challenges. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, that the top bar of that frame is a stitch or 2 too long. So I have to check that out before I keep going with the frame. And I remember the red stitches there were for some red challenge. in magical stitches. So I will work more on this one this week to keep going on it. I might do a little bit every day just to get the frames done, because that's the tedious part. And then start filling in the portraits. The guy standing on dynamite and the tightrope walker over the crocodile. Because that would also be fun to have done for Halloween. But we'll see if it happens. So those are my plans. Let's see. I bought a chart. I successfully did not buy a chart in the Haid sale, but then yesterday I was looking on Etsy for who knows what reason, and I found this one, and I had to buy it. This is Odin, and is Pattern Keeper compatible. He has 9 colors. He's 250 by 500 tall. But only being 9 colors, he's going to go pretty quick. Most of the shop's charts that he came from, I believe, are Pattern Keeper compatible. However, some of the charts in her shop, I know are, you'd say, stolen or taken artwork from artists who are licensed with other companies, mainly Tilton. I saw some of Daniel Cordick's artwork in her shop, and some other, like the Lord of the Rings charts. I know that Shelley of Tilton had as limited editions. So I kind of don't want to promote her shop just because she is charting stuff that the artists are not getting rewarded for. I'm sure that Odin chart, probably, now that I think about it, was probably artwork that she took from somewhere without compensating the artist. But I mean, if you're interested, you could find it yourself. Odin cross stitch. There are other Etsy shops out there that chart full coverage pieces that are Pattern Keeper compatible, that's not stolen artwork. So let's see. I have not received my Pattern Keeper update yet. I'm looking forward to that. I know some people who have received it and are really liking it. If you haven't noticed, in the official Haid Facebook group today, they have begun a new 10,000 stitch challenge that starts today through the end of September. A stitch is a stitch, so it doesn't matter if you do a full cross or tent stitch. They want you to do 10,000 of them. You can share your starting point in that post, and I'm sure there will be another post at the end of September to share your finishing point after 10,000 stitches. So in case you have a Haid you're working on and need some more motivation, there's a challenge for you. That is all of my stitching content. So if you're only interested in that, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. For the Air Force story, let me bring my tablet back out. Why did it do that? In July, the Air Force awarded a huge contract to Boeing to revive the F15 program. And so what this means is Boeing, who built the F-15s, is going to update the airframe, and then they're going to send it to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, which is one of our test wing bases, where they have 2 different squadrons that is their job, is to do everything you can possibly think of to test these aircraft, figure out if there's any bugs, figure out if everything's working well together, figure out how to teach how to you know, fly this new airframe. Because while it's still an F-15, it's had lots of updates. Flight controls, avionics, and that kind of thing. I don't need an advertisement. So they awarded a nearly $1.2 billion contract to Boeing for the first 8. And they're calling these F15 Ex. They expect the first 2 to roll off the production line in early 2021 to go down to Eglin, where so the 40th Flight Test Squadron will take possession of 1, and the 85th Test and Evaluation Squadron will receive number 2, and they will manage the developmental and operational testing of those aircraft. They will also handpick maintainers from Eglin, from the regular maintenance group, to attend classes on how to maintain this new airframe, how it differs from the C&D models, because this EX model is meant to replace the C&D models that some of them are from the 1970s. That's how old they are. So there's 8. The first 2 will come early 2021. The other 6 will come in 2023. But according to the contract, the Air Force is expected to buy 144 with an option to increase that to 200. Now, the reason the Air Force wants to upgrade the F-15 fleet is not only because the C&D models are getting old. In terms of, a fighter, it's 1970s, so it's a 50-year-old aircraft, fighter aircraft that, endures lots of stresses. But the F-15 is not a stealth aircraft. So many of you probably heard of the F-35, which is before this EX. The F-35 was the newest Air Force fighter, but that is a stealth aircraft. So what that means is any payload, any weapons that it carries is internal to the airplane to maintain the stealth capability. So this new F-15 Ex is not stealth, is therefore easier to maintain, because say if you have like anytime you take down a panel or have to repair a panel or something on the F-35, it requires more work to maintain that stealth coating. So the F-15 Ex will be easier to maintain because it doesn't have that stealth coating, and it will be able to carry 3 times the payload, so 3 times the amount of weapons as the F-35, because it can carry them externally on the wings and on the underside of the body. So there is a picture of course, that's when the advertisement comes. A picture of till number 0001 of the F-15 Ex under production there at Boeing. So, and if you've seen my other Air Force stories, you know that green is because it has not been painted yet. So that's what the panels look like before they're painted. All the flight surfaces. So that is the F-15 Ex. Pretty exciting stuff. At least, you know, for Air Force folks. So, let's see. Oh, and Boeing is also producing a simulator to help train the air crews, and the simulator will arrive down at Eglin later this year. Because obviously the simulator is smaller, you just have to have all the cockpit avionics and items in there attached to a computer, and so it's much easier to make than a full airplane. So the simulator will arrive later this year. That's all I have right now. The total contract is almost $23 billion. So the first 8 being the most expensive because they're first creating them at $1.2 billion for just 8 of them. So that is your Air Force story. I hope everybody has a good stitching week, and we will see you later. Bye, guys.